Hey guys, thanks for coming out for the Lean Life Project. This is Paul Evans. I meant to have some gym sounds in the background, like some clanging weights and some guys screaming, something along those lines. But I've been focusing lately on my roller coaster ride. I don't know how many of you guys do this, but I tend to be up and down. Actually, this time last year, I was about 170 pounds. By the time I got to June, I was like at 209. Now, I was actually lifting pretty heavy during a lot of that period, but I'd gained a lot of fat as well. So I was in a true bulk up phase, and now I'm leaning up a little bit more and getting back down to about that 170 or so. But, just type in a yes if you've ever been on that yo-yo platform where you kind of go up, you lose it, you go back up, you lose it again. Yeah, a lot of folks typing in yes. That tends to be what we do. Some of us tend to hover just right around a weight. And I've got some guys that I'm really close to, we're good friends, that have just kind of gained through the years and stayed there, but they are ready to really shift gears, get it back in line, and to follow a simple program. And more than anything, guys, I believe in simplicity. I don't want anything that's complicated, and I'm not going to keep up with a lot. I'm going to show you what I use to track some things, but I'm not a mega tracker. I never have been. I own several online businesses, and I've never been great at tracking all of the micro details. I'm pretty good at the macro. And so that's the way that I look at fitness and nutrition and things along those lines as well, just so that we can keep it really simple, because it really doesn't take a lot. And that's the big thing to remember, is that if you can remain focused and semi-disciplined, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So here's my very quick background. I got my first weight set in 1979. I think my mom was worried about me getting beat up because I've never been the tallest of individuals. But I got my first weight set in 1979. I started entering powerlifting contests in 1984, as personal trainer in 1985, bodybuilder in 1986, did that for several years. Actually owned a gym for a couple of years, 1990, sold it in 93, and had somebody buy us out, so I was excited about that. But I've been a yo-yo fitness kind of person ever since. Read the fitness magazines every month, always either got a gym membership or stuff at home to train with, so that's been a constant. And I'm 48 years old at this moment. Yes, that's a current picture over there to the left. Now then, I am not a doctor, and I am not a nutritionist. In fact, type in, Paul is not a doctor. Paul is not a doctor. Type that in. Chris said he's 48 too. Cool, brother. Love it. And I like really being in the 40s. We are not listening to Chris. He said, Paul is the best doctor in town. Psych. All right, everybody's typing in Paul is not a doctor. That's good, except for Chris and Ron. Ron put in Paul Evans, MD. In the 40s, I feel like it's a great time. I feel like we've still got, those of us who are in our 40s, we've still got enough hormones to really do some muscle gains and also some fat loss. And at the same time, we're able to have enough knowledge, hopefully, to train wisely and to make some wise decisions. But the reason I say I'm not a doctor, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm just giving you suggestions tonight, some overview of some things that I'm doing. Whether you choose to apply that or not, I would encourage you to go to your doctor, have a complete physical checkup if you've not done that already. If you've not been working out, you're not familiar with a lot of training programs, go to the gym, get a personal trainer, have somebody guide you through. And certainly, depending on what your goal is, whether or not you work with a nutritionist. Everything that I'm going to provide tonight is super basic. And if you want to go and actually work with someone that this is what they do, then it's going to be able to help you make some gains, even if your gains are losses, as quickly as possible, because they're going to dial it in based on who you are, what your goals are, and what your needs are. I will say, as a caveat, that in general, if your focus is building muscle, most nutritionists are not going to be as high on the protein wagon as I am. But if you're going to lose weight and even get lean, then you don't have to have the same protein requirements. So that's no big deal whatsoever. So what we're going to cover tonight is the dangerous D's, fundamentals of nutrition, fundamentals of training, designing your program, and the killer key to success. So the dangerous D's, three things that really affect all of us at one time or another, not just in health and fitness, but in life. Number one is just getting distracted. If you've seen the movie Up, where the dog kept saying squirrel, well, you know, that's where I live. I usually say that I've got ADHD. You know, at this age, it doesn't affect me like it did in my teen years, but I actually love it because the hyperactivity component keeps me revved up, keeps my processing quick, and it makes me do a lot more in a lot less time. Now, it's not always the most accurate the first time through, but it does allow me to get a whole lot more done. However, when it comes to health and fitness, we can really get distracted. We get distracted by the latest thing that's out there, the latest workout program, the latest diet program. There's so many things that are out there on the market that it's easy to get distracted. We can also get distracted by life, and that's going to happen. We're going to get interrupted, that there are going to be some emergencies. There are going to be some things happen that we weren't expecting. And here's what I want to encourage you to do when you get distracted, especially if it's for more than a couple of days. I want you to put on your calendar a re-engagement or a relaunch date. Because here's what happens with our health and fitness. If we take a few days off, then it can become a habit really quickly, especially if this is not part of our lifestyle. And we get interrupted with bad news. We get interrupted with an emergency. We get distracted by all that. Pretty soon, it turns into 5 or 6 days that we've not done very well, turns into a week, turns into a month, and it can easily turn into years. It's just the way that it happens. So we've got to make sure that anytime that we get off track, that we determine a re-engagement date, a time that we're going to jump back in. If you'll put that on the calendar, something like Google Calendar, and put an alarm with it so that it gets you back. Now, I'm not a big cheat day person. This is built into a lot of fitness and health. Like Saturday's your cheat day. You get to eat anything you want. I don't really like that mindset because it trains you that bad is good, and it can get you distracted, and you can weigh the same the next day and you feel pretty good about it. So I want to caution you on that. If you want to have a cheat meal and label it any way that you want to, if that makes you feel good, fine. Otherwise, eat healthy most of the time, and then if you just happen to be at a family event where they've got pizza and you want to eat it, then eat a piece. Just don't go crazy with it, right? So distraction. Number 2 is disappointment. Depending on your background, how fast your body responds to things, and even your own current physical state and health and what your training program is, that often we don't get the results that we want as quick as we want, especially as we get older. When I look at my rate of healing now compared to my 20s, if I look at my muscular response now compared to my late teens, it's totally different, right? Because I'm 48 years old and my body does not respond as quickly as it did, and it doesn't heal as quickly. So I can be disappointed when what I used to be able to see incredible results in 2 weeks, it might be taking me 4 to 6 weeks now. So that type of disappointment, if I'm not careful, will lead me back off track. And so the key is that you remain consistent, you remain focused, and you don't allow disappointment to side rail you. And then just discipline. Discipline. If you are a person that by nature you are highly disciplined, just type in, I am highly disciplined. If you're not, just type in not. So the highly disciplined, type in I'm highly disciplined. If you're not, just type in not. All right, I've got not. Let's see, not. Got one highly disciplined. I've got one, I'm disciplined with the wrong things. Chris, I hear you, brother. All right, not. Okay, so out of everybody that typed in, only one said highly disciplined, and then Vincent says incredibly in some, nix the rest. Vincent, hey, that's exactly the way it happens. For most of us, we tend to be disciplined in some area and not in the other. By and large, 90% of the population is not disciplined. About 10% are disciplined in some very strong areas, and only 1 or 2% are the hyper-disciplined, that it doesn't matter what they do, they set their mind to it and it wins. And that's why most people set goals and don't attain them. The highly disciplined set a goal and attain it. And that's why most goal-setting programs that you've bought haven't worked for you, because they're designed for the disciplined. They're not designed for the undisciplined. I am by nature undisciplined. That's where I live. And so some of you guys know that I have a program called the 5 Stones High Achievement Program, and it's goal setting for the undisciplined. I had to make up a program that worked for somebody like me that gets distracted, that gets disappointed, and is not disciplined. So that's why I put that program together, and it made it so much easier. All right, so those are the 3 Ds. So fundamentals of nutrition. I'm just going to rock through the content tonight, and then at the end we'll have some Q&A if you have any questions. So fundamentals of nutrition. Protein, 4 calories. Carbohydrates, 4 calories. Fat, 9 calories. Protein is the muscle builder for the most part. So when you think about, I'm trying to build some muscle, you got to have the protein there to make that the catalyst. Your carbohydrates are an energy source, and this is interesting because Drew and I were talking about this on Monday, it's not necessarily the primary energy source that your body really wants to use. It would love to use fats. But here's the way that I look at these as personality types. Protein is kind of apathetic. Carbohydrates are your hyperactives. They're your extroverts. They can't wait to get out there and party. I mean, they are right there ready to go at a moment's notice. Fats are introverts. You got to drag them out to the party. You've got to think about it to get the fats activated. And if so many carbohydrates are there, your fats will remain inactive for the most part, right? If there's a bunch of extroverts at the party, it allows the introverts to hide. If there's almost no extroverts there, then the introverts have to come out or there's no conversation at all, right? In fact, in the replay, I'll mail out a video with this where I talk about the personality types of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. But there it is in a nutshell. So those are your calorie categories on that. So every day you want to focus on carb moderation, keeping carbs under 30 grams per meal, 100 grams per day. And this is going to help minimize fat storage with your carbohydrates and ensure your body's ability to utilize stored fat as a fuel source. Now, personally, I try to keep my carbs right now in the leaning period. I keep mine around 25 to a max of 50 carbs a day right now. Now, if you're a nutritionist, you're going to say, Paul, that's unhealthy. But I know what works best for me. I've got enough reps in, enough time in long term to know what works. And so the 25 works really well for me as far as fooling my body into believing it's getting all the sugars that it needs and at the same time requiring on the fat cells for the energy source. You want to increase clean protein and healthy fat intake as you reduce your carb intake. And then as I take a sip of water, you want to drink 2 to 3 liters or 60 to 90 ounces of water per day. The more water, the better. The more hydrated you are, the better. It makes a big, big difference. Now, I was raised with a mom that believed that water healed everything. If I had a headache, she would say, you need to drink more water. If I felt sluggish, she would say, you need to drink more water. And no matter what it was, water was the answer. And we know that most of us, just as most of us are sleep deprived, most of us stay in a constant state of dehydration. And so we've got to make sure that we're getting plenty of water. And no, just because it's liquid is not water. Soda is not water. You need to drink pure water. If you want to add something to it to make it taste a little better, that's totally up to you. And then finally, take your supplements correctly. You know, follow what's on the bottle. If they tell you to take 2 tablets, don't take 6. If they say 1 scoop, don't take 5. Take your supplements accordingly. I'll make some supplement recommendations tonight, but again, that's totally up to you if you want to go down that trail in that direction. You want to have more clean proteins such as fish, eggs, chicken, and beef. Personally, my favorite fish is salmon. I love eggs. Chicken, I've got an allergy to. I've got a life-threatening allergy to all poultry. And usually I can catch it pretty quick, but I always travel with an EpiPen. So chicken's out for me, but it may be in for you. And then I love beef. I love red meat. If it comes to, you know, the leaner the cut, the better for me personally. And if I'm eating ground beef, I try to keep that at 93% lean. That's me personally. Healthy fats, avocado, nuts and seeds, coconut and olive oil, things along those lines to just keep you healthy and make sure that, you're focused there and you're being aware of the healthy fats. When we start talking about fat, sometimes people are thinking, well, I can just eat as much fat as I want and it doesn't matter where the fat comes from. That's not necessarily true. You want to make sure that you're having healthy fats, you're getting your omega-3s in, things along those lines. Then veggies, salad, steamed, grill. I'm not a huge veggie eater. I'm trying to increase that. I've got people that preach at me all day long. Anytime that I joke about like eating a diet of 100% bacon, people start emailing me and private messaging me on Facebook telling me what I ought to eat. Good luck. But for the most part, I'm really trying to increase in that area. And then clean, complex carbs, rice cakes. Not too big on rice cakes, but I saw those listed, so I thought I'd add it in. Hummus, oatmeal, couscous, and quinoa. Those are some things that are a little bit better on the glycemic index ratios, and you just want them to digest a little bit slower than things like sugar, which we'll talk about in just a second. But for the most part, I try to keep my carbs really complex when I eat those and when I'm in more of a gaining phase. Fruit, this is another area that you've got to be careful with because it is automatically produced as sugar for the most part, so you want to do the more fibrous fruits, the low glycemic fruits, apples, grapefruit, berries, things along those lines. Some of the fruits that you just love, watch their sugar content, and especially if you've got any insulin sensitivity, you got to be very aware of that because it can spike your sugar levels and it can really shift your mood as well. What we're trying to do with our diet, at least in my mind, is to create as much hormonal and energy stability as possible. I don't want there to be a lot of spikes and a lot of ups and a lot of downs. I don't want that sugar high and then get that drop. I want a very steady energy throughout the day and working with complex carbs, fibrous fruits, but limiting those, focusing on your veggies, your healthy fats, and your clean proteins. Those top three are going to help you create the most stability possible. And then you want to avoid and limit dairy such as cheese, yogurt, milk, white sauces or dressing as much as possible. Wheat products such as bread, pasta, crackers, fried foods, refined sugars, things along those lines. I'm a coffee drinker, so I'll still have some of that. I don't feel like it's like a death knell. And especially if you want just a little bit of a boost in the morning, again, consult your physician and nutritionist. But the caffeine is pretty strong. Soda, alcohol, drink more water. I use Spark from Advocare and Rehydrate from Advocare. I like both of those drinks personally. The general rule that I grew up with was avoid the white death. So flours and sugars, anything that is a main ingredient in, by and large, you just want to stay away from. You've just got to be careful with it. I've got some folks in my family who recently just stopped eating sugar. And first they found out how much sugar was in almost everything. And then once they made the shift, weight dropped, moods shifted, energy increased, and overall, they became more pleasant. So avoid and limit those elements. So here's what a typical day might look like. For breakfast, eggs, meat, half a cup of oats with some nuts and fruit in it, but pretty light. I like half a cup. I think that's a good measurement. Mid-morning snacks, nuts and seeds, maybe some fibrous fruit there, maybe even a salad. Lunch, 4 to 6 ounces of chicken, fish, beef, vegetables, maybe a half cup of rice. For me, that would be optional. Mid-afternoon, 1/2 tablespoon of nut butter, but more like almond butter, not necessarily peanut butter, but almond butter and some other good butters along those lines, and some dark chocolate. Dinner, 4 to 6 ounces of chicken, fish, beef, green vegetables, and keep that. I limit my carbs at night personally. Now this could just be completely superstitious, but growing up I always heard the last thing at night is what you store, or it's going to be what your body uses during the night to recuperate. And so I was always terrified of eating a lot of carbs at night. And the weight that I gained the past year, I feel like was primarily because I did eat a pretty good bit of carbs at night. And then if you need a snack late night, instead of that bowl of cereal, that bowl of ice cream, hey, make a couple of eggs or just eat like 12 to 24 almonds, and you should be all set. And it should really quench that hunger, calm it down, and you can focus. So that's what a day might look like of just clean eating without any supplements. And then I usually add supplements in. So for me, at breakfast, I might have a couple of eggs, but I'll also have a protein drink, anywhere from 35 to 50 grams of protein. And then I have a vitamin pack. Mid-morning, I'll drink Spark. I have 12 almonds, sometimes 24 almonds. Lunch, I'll also add in my vitamins and my greens. Mid-afternoon, I'll have another Spark drink or a protein drink or a muscle bar. And a muscle bar, try to limit that as far as the carbs as much as possible. There's a few out there that have lower carbs, but I try to get at least 20 grams of protein there. Maximum 30 grams of protein right around mid-afternoon. Or if I'm skipping protein because I've got a big dinner planned and I know that I'm going to do 8 to 10 ounces of beef, then I'll just do like a Spark in mid-afternoon. Then dinner's regular, and then a Megaplex tablet at night to get those omega vitamins in and also some healthy fats in as well. And then if I need a snack late at night, I'll do a protein drink. And there are some recovery tabs that I like to use, and I'll use those right before bedtime. So that's really my overall schedule for the day. And I don't always do every single ounce of this every day, but that's what a typical day looks like for me. Sherry said, would you be willing to send us a copy of these slides? Sherry, the answer to that is absolutely. All right, and here's what I use to track my calories. During the day, I don't enter my workouts in here, but I like to use MyFitnessPal. It's an app that I'm sure it's on Android as well as iPhone. And so I use that and really like it a lot. Let's see here. Let's keep rolling. So that's all kind of the nutrition stuff. And then I'll take questions here in just a few minutes. So the fundamentals of fitness, there's really not a ton to it in my mind unless you're going like for championship level and really wanting to do some big stuff. You know, if you really want to do that, then it makes all the difference in the world if you're really tying it in. If you got an overall goal, so let's say that my goal is to get down to about, 10, let's say 12% body fat, I can do that being, I'd say, basically focused. If I'm getting under 10%, I'm going to have to really nail some stuff. So I know that that's what I'm going to need to do. I would say that most people, guys, getting to about 15, 16% body fat, you can do that in just a fundamental fitness focus and the nutrition program just laid out. Ladies, you can get to that 22%, maybe under 20. You guys have to be a little bit more careful. I definitely encourage the ladies, talk to a nutritionist, see where you are physically and what you're going to need to do to really knock it out and be focused as you drop beyond the fundamentals if you decide that you're going to go championship caliber. So daily, you want intentional movement every hour. So when I was gaining weight, I didn't do that. But now I make sure I get up every hour. It could be something as simple as 10 jumping jacks, some stretches, a few crunches, just something light, physical activity that is intentional movement. Slightly elevate the heart rate. I think that this is best done first thing in the morning. I say slightly. You don't have to go out and run 5 miles. If that's part of your program, then go do it. But just getting the elevated heart rate just a little bit early in the morning kind of kicks things off. And if you can do that about 3 times a day, like morning, noon, and night, I'm just talking about 5 to 10 minutes of exercise. I'm not talking about elongated. You just want something to make sure that you got your heart rate up just slightly and you're getting your blood pumping. Gratitude daily. Okay, so this is something that we don't think about in a fitness program. But to have gratitude for your functionality. You may not be where you want to be. You may look down and not be able to see your shoes. You may have trouble tying your shoes. But as you make progress, I want you to be so aware of every incremental change that you give thanks for it. The first time that you're able to bend over without like an exhale happening automatically, hey, give some thanks for that. I want you to live in self-awareness. So more important to me personally than making sure that I'm weighing every single piece of protein, making sure I'm getting all of my nutrients. More important than that to me is self-awareness. When I had this certain meal, how did I feel an hour afterwards? How aware am I about my mood? If I've got my carbs too low, am I starting to have some of that low carb anger, and family or friends are like, Paul, you know, your sarcasm with a smile, it's just turned into sarcasm. You might need to go get you some Skittles. So self-awareness allows us to know if our mood is changing, if our energy is changing, if our focus is changing, positive or negative. So that when we have a positive change in focus, we need to know what we ate and what helped produce that, and what exercise we did that helped produce that. On the opposite side, if we feel fuzzy, we need to say, well, this is what I had for breakfast. What's the cause of that fuzziness? Okay, I see what I did here that was different. So that's why I keep up with my nutrition on MyFitnessPal. And then a mantra. This is going to seem a little corny, and I'm not into all the woo-woo stuff. Some of you probably love all the woo-woo. I'm not really into that. But I do like a focus. Like if my focus is to lose fat and to gain muscle, then that's my mantra. That's the phrase that I repeat every day: lose fat, gain muscle. So that if I'm doing 10 jumping jacks, I might think lose fat, gain muscle. So throughout the day, I want to repeat that goal so that it's ever before me. If I want to lose 25 pounds, then my mantra, my statement for that, that period is I'm going to lose 25 pounds. Then as it drops, you keep shrinking it. I'm going to lose 19 pounds. I'm going to lose 13 pounds. What happens is that in your brain, when you're repeating this as a confidence statement, then your brain wants to make that true. It wants to make that a fact. And so you'll notice that even some of your cravings will start to vanish because it won't be able to pass through the filter of lose 13 pounds. And when you don't feel like exercising, out of nowhere some days, you'll get a little bit of that burst of motivation. Where's it coming from? From you saying, I got to lose 13 pounds. Because your mind tells your body, you've got to do these things or else it's just not going to happen. And then rest. Most of us are in a constant state of exhaustion and sleep deprivation. I tend to do 6 to 7 hours a night, but once about every 6 weeks, I'll have like a crash and sleep 10 to 12 hours. Because my body just is like, nope, that does it. You got to have it. Now, I feel good with 6, and I feel great with 7, but I know that physically, I really need 8. My hyperactivity prevents that most of the time. So I wake up like at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I'm hyper. So here it is at night at 7, and I feel like my energy is probably around, a 4 or 5, maybe a 6, but it's nothing like it is in the morning. And, I don't hold these things at 4 a.m. It could be a little bit insane. So those are things you want to do daily. Weekly, I divide my weekly workouts into resistance and race. Resistance is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. If you're just doing a get lean or get tone, then I like to use 3 sets per body part with 10 to 12 reps. So what that might look like is if I'm at home and I'm not a member of a gym, I might do 3 sets of push-ups, 3 sets of squats, 3 sets of body lifts or chair dips, something along those lines. You can just type in online at home body weight workout and you'll find a lot of things out there. But I just do 3 sets of 10 to 12 per body part for tone. And that's really all you need. What's going to make the difference is your amount of intensity. How hard are you going at it? And if you've not been doing it, don't start hard or you won't be able to walk or move the next day. But as you're more advanced, then you can gauge your intensity level, because intensity is directly associated with whether you're maintaining or whether you're making progress. Now, in the beginning, if you've not been training at all, everything's intense to your body. But over time, you got to gauge your intensity. And then if I'm going for more mass and strength, I do 5 sets per body part, and I follow a protocol of 12 reps, 10, 8, 6, and then I do 8 reps again. So I do 5 sets per body part or per exercise, actually, and I'll do 2 or maybe 3 exercises per body part when I'm focusing on mass and strength. So resistance, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Races Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. 30 minutes medium tempo, or if I'm really trying to drop, and I'm not doing this right now, I'll do a running schedule if I'm really trying to get lean. But for me, I try to do 30 minutes of medium tempo, kind of a jogging, not a running, but a jogging, really light. 30 minutes Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. Resistance Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Race is Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. In general, 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of fat. But you've got to really target it to lose that effectively. And I don't do that much math, but this is just in general. Muscle is more dense. People will say muscle weighs more than fat. It doesn't. A pound is a pound. We know that. I don't know why people keep saying that. Everybody knows muscle weighs more than fat. No, it's more dense than fat. It takes up less space than fat. That's why if you had like, guys, if you had 5% body fat and you're 5'8" and weighed 175, you would look really massive shirtless. But if you are 25% body fat at 175, you just look like a wreck. That's just the way it goes. Those are guys. That's guy numbers. So muscle raises the metabolism. The more muscle you have on your frame, the more calories are required, because it just requires more heat and more calories to make those muscles function than just being kind of lazy, just sitting there. It doesn't take a lot. Early exercise heats the body and burns more calories longer. So if you get up in the morning and do some light exercises, some jumping jacks, some push-ups, but you get your blood flowing, it's going to go ahead and heat your body up, and you'll burn calories on average about 4 hours more per day than the regular person out there. They say, according to studies and research, that the average person's body, when they wake up about 6 or 7 a.m., the average person's body doesn't technically wake up, and their brain doesn't technically wake up until 10 a.m. That's why right now, in fact, I shot 7 videos today on the day launcher. I'm about to come out with that. You're on the email list. You'll get notified. But it's how to start your day. It's a success routine to start your day every single morning. Now, it's more the mental side than the physical side. But the quicker we can heat up our mind and our body, the greater advantage we have on the day. Early protein revs the metabolism. So a lot of people skip breakfast, and they say that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Maybe, maybe not, but it is important from a protein standpoint, because protein takes a different type of digestion than does just straight carbs and fats, and it elevates the metabolism as well. A lot of people right now are using Fitbit and things along those lines, and they love the 10,000 steps a day. I think it works. I think it's really good. So, do it if you want to keep up with your 10,000 steps. However, be careful of earned it eating. I got a lot of my friends are on the 10,000 steps a day, and for some reason they think it's a gateway to the buffet. 10,000 steps a day is not the gateway to the buffet. You can memorize that, make that a mantra. Be careful of earned it eating. Stick with your protocol. Stick with your focus. Do your 10,000 steps. Don't pat yourself on the back. That's what you were supposed to do. That was your duty for the day. So not like, whoo, I did my 10,000 steps. Look how great I am. How many steps did you plan to do? 10,000? All right, you did the minimum. Now, if you get to 20, that may be I don't know if that's dangerous, but if you get to 20, then you can celebrate because you doubled your expectation. But too often we're celebrating our minimums that we put in place. Concentrate on your goal throughout the day. Again, that's kind of your mantra that you want to repeat. So that if you're wanting to get lean, you're thinking about getting lean. If you want to gain muscle, you're thinking about gaining muscle. You want to do that in general every single day. So the killer key to success, and this is from the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, which I recommended this week through email, but I'll add it in to the email going out after this as well. Smart choices plus consistency plus time equals amazing results. You know, you might lose some weight this week. Good job. But over time, you're actually going to see the physical results. Over time, even more importantly, other people are going to see the results. You know, I love seeing the results, but I like other people commenting more because that shows that it's real. Truth is, I can see stuff that isn't there, and we all do. We look in the mirror, and many of us have that negative lens, and all we can see is the negative. Some of us have the positive lens, and all we can see is the positive. But other people have the reality lens, and they're just seeing us as we are. So when somebody comes up and says, wow, you're losing weight, you're getting in shape, what are you doing? Boom. That means that we've made smart choices, we've been consistent over time, and we're getting some really solid results. That's the killer key to success. Okay, so time for some questions if you've got some. My keys are keep it simple, don't get distracted. Don't let tools and cool fool you into forgetting your goal. And my overall 3 is I want to exercise, I want to eat right, and I want ease, meaning that I want time to recuperate. Now I did put, and you can type in any questions you have right now, but I put 3 packages together. These are all part of Advocare, and you don't have to sign up to be a distributor or anything like that. These are just straight packages, and you don't have to go with them at all. But I get a lot of questions about what do you use, how are you doing it, what supplements do you use, etc. So paulbevans.com/lean is if you're trying to get more trim. So those are supplements for that. paulbevans.com/muscle is if you're trying to gain muscle mass, you're really focusing on protein and recovering from the muscle side. And then if overall you want to go through a detox and a cleanse and an overall reset that you're just like, I just need to start from scratch. paulbevans.com/24-day. I followed that program before. I think it's an excellent reset. In fact, last year when I lost down to 170, 175-ish, I used 24-day. So that was my focus for that period. paulbevans.com/24 or muscle or lean. I'll email out these links as well. So any questions about anything we covered tonight, anything you want clarified, or any false teaching that I did that you want to correct, fortunately, I'll have you in the chat and I don't have to read it. I'm kidding. Let's see. Anything, nothing coming in so far? You may be typing. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes. And if nothing comes in, then I will shut us down. Ron says, can you repeat everything you said? Ron, absolutely on the replay. It will sound remarkably like everything I just said. Sherry says, wow, that's why I have trouble truly waking up and being bright-eyed before 10 a.m. You know, Sherry, if you're not doing something physical, think about adding that in. I love a morning routine that really gets me set. That's why I'm coming out with the day launcher. Chris said, but distraction's a big key for me. Even though you said you get distracted, you seem to get a lot of production done throughout the day. What day planner and app do you use? Oh, Chris, yeah, I get distracted, but I'm highly productive. 4 to 8 a.m. is my productivity wedge. It's where I do almost everything because nobody else is awake yet. They're not, you know, pinging me and doing stuff like that. So that tends to be my focus time. What planner I use personally is a planner that I developed, and it is, and I'll actually send out in the notes, I'll try to remember to send out a thing called the action planner that I use. But I use my own planner, and it's going to be part of the day launcher, but it's also part of Achieve. And you know, I don't have a link to that right now, but I'll send that out as well. And what Achieve does is it shares the process that I use every single day. I plan my week, I plan my days, and then I've got a 4-quadrant map that I use for every single action that I do, for every goal that I'm trying to reach for the day. And I'm so clear on those things. The reason I don't get distracted is because I'm clear from the get-go. And most of the time, we've got a list of actions that we're doing, and we're doing them because we think we're supposed to, but we're not really clear on the result. And so I'll lead you through that. So I'll make sure I'll put that link in as well. And it's really inexpensive. It's not going to be expensive at all. Sherry says, great information, straightforward. You're welcome. Dino says, nice job. Vincent says, no questions, Paul. Very clear. Thank you. Dan says, thanks for keeping this to the point. You're welcome. Vincent said, I look forward to using the day launcher. Do you use paper or digital app or both? I use paper personally for any of my planning. I use the app only for my calories, and that's my Fitness Pal. But as far as my personal productivity, any workouts that I happen to write down, everything is paper. All right. Anything else, guys? Good. You're welcome, Chris. All right. So this is straightforward. Everything that I do is really simple. I don't try to do anything that's complex. I think that we're burdened enough. I think most of our lives are overcomplicated, and it's our fault because we decided to invite overstimulation, over information into our lives. And I don't have any more room for that. So I go straight down to the bottom line. What is the minimum number of steps required to attain X? So I do that in diet. I do that in fitness. I do that in my business. I do it in my productivity. Everything to me is about the minimums for the maximum. All right, guys, thanks for coming out tonight. As always, success is not an accident. Be blessed.